Hello everyone, welcome to our session about implementing essential online marketing features. We are going to intentionally skip some advanced features such as marketing campaigns or marketing automation. We are going to create these in some future sessions or webinars. We are targeting primarily technical leads from our partners teams, meaning people who decide how things should be implemented, which means solution architects, project managers, and similar positions. It is also going to be very useful for our clients who are planning to start utilizing our digital marketing features. My name is Ondrej Noak. I'm working as a customer success manager here in Kentico, and my job is to look after selected new and existing clients, guiding them through Kentico ecosystem and helping them to make the best of Kentico Xperience.
Hello, and I'm Lukas Bajer, and I work in Kentico Xperience as training specialist. My job is to prepare training materials like courses and other educational materials for our clients, mostly for business users.
And we are starting with first phase. We call it phase 0. And in this phase, we are going to touch the basic concepts so you understand them, and we can focus on the implementation strategy itself. On this slide, you see quite nice, neat little diagram. It shows our features and their relations. Let me explain it for you. On the left-hand side, you can see cookies and data protection mechanisms. Both of these need to be prepared or developed by developers, and consent tracking, after it is prepared, can be managed by end users, meaning that end users can create their own consents and manage them. The second step is the biggest orange rectangle. It's contact management functionality, and it has 3 distinct, sub-features or elements. The first one is activated tracking. That's something that's pretty easy to activate or set up by developers. Then there is contact synchronization with some external system, such as CRM. And this integration or synchronization needs to be prepared by developers. Then there is contact import. It's a feature for end users, and you may import via CSV files contacts from other systems. After this is all ready, you may start to segment your contacts into, for instance, contact groups or personas. Below that, you see subscribers. That's quite a little outstanding group of users. You may, of course, import subscribers from some external system because you already have the data, but new subscribers are usually going through forms, meaning they see a form, please subscribe to our newsletter, they enter their details, and thus they become subscribers. With all these things ready, you may start to use our essential online marketing features. And in this presentation, we are going to cover 2 of them in detail. It is web content personalization and email newsletter. While email marketing campaigns, it's a bit more advanced concept, and we are going to cover that in some follow-up session later this year. There are usually a couple of things our clients struggle with, and we are going to mention them. We are going to mention how they work from a technical perspective. And this structure, what you see, is going to be repeated in every chapter. So the first one is concept of visitors, contacts, customers, and users in Kentico Xperience. Some other marketing systems are using these terms in a different meaning. So they mean a bit different with the contact that we mean in Kentico Xperience. And it's important to understand what we mean so we can discuss these concepts further.
Now, Xperience comes with a flexible security model in which users play a very essential role. I'll simplify this concept for this presentation, so my apologies to everyone. From an online marketing perspective, Website visitors are a special kind of users, and they are represented in the users application by a dummy public user account or object. Users such as editors and administrators are users with elevated privileges, and they have rights to, for example, change the content on the website and do the stuff on the backend. If the website is using online marketing features, then visitors who come to the website and agree with tracking become anonymous contacts, and when they identify themselves, for example, by submitting a form, they become regular identified contacts. If the website is using e-commerce functionalities, people or visitors who are coming to the website and purchase something become customers. And if the customer registers during the checkout process, they'll become registered customers. And in a similar manner, if a contact decides to register on the website, they are recognized as registered users. So this is the, let's say, simplified model of experience and how it works with users. And from the perspective of implementation, there's not much to, let's say, cover. I'd rather point out one thing. When you start discussing with the marketers what kind of features they want to use, focus on stuff that they are doing at the time when you are starting this new project, what kind of marketing workflows they're using, what kind of activities they want to do on the website, and when they want to start with these activities. This will help you identify different phases of implementing the features, maybe one by one, not all at once. So, just to sum it up, what you have just heard, in this short presentation, we'll highlight things that developers need to implement in order to marketers have their stuff ready on the website. One of the things that marketers sometimes, let's say, miss or don't think much about and don't understand is why they should have their contacts synchronized across CRM and other system and Xperience. And I hope that in this presentation, we'll show you that building a sync is something that you should include and they should include in the project requirements. And the last feature, this is a feature that's often missed by marketers, is called data protection. It requires initial development, but having consent agreement with other contact data in Xperience helps marketers stay within legal boundaries when they are using different marketing tactics, and they are protected from the legal part.
And the next chapter, called Phase 1, we are going to cover implementing contact tracking's data protection and consent mechanisms.
I'll start with a show demo. What does it look like when a contact comes to the website? When a contact comes to the website and agrees with tracking, Kentico Xperience collects all the activities that are happening. When they are browsing in the website, the system creates an anonymous user on the backend. At some point, when they are browsing, they find this subscription box, for example, and they subscribe to the newsletter. And after they confirm the subscription, the activity is also included in the system. After some time, maybe they decide to purchase something, and when they purchase, the information that they've included into the purchase information or the purchase form, it is also included in the system, and the anonymous visitor is now a recognized visitor with all the data that marketers can use for targeting different marketing activities. So this is the basic functionality that you can see implemented in our demo Dancing Goat website, which we are going to talk about once again in this presentation.
And of course, even in this area, there are a couple of things that marketers usually struggle with. What may not be so obvious is that Xperience tracks even anonymous visitors, meaning that if someone comes to the website and agrees with the tracking, that's otherwise nothing will be tracked. Once they agree with tracking, we start to create a GUID of the anonymous contact, and we start to track everything the anonymous contact does on the website.
To make things work with current legislation, the Xperience comes from a framework for cookies that you can use for developing different cookie levels. And in order to use online marketing features that come out of box with Kentico Xperience, the contact that you want to track on the website needs to have assigned at least the visitor level. So the activities will be tracked by the system. Ondrej has already mentioned that a contact is recognized in the system, and the cookie is called the current contact cookie, and it's assigned by default for 50 years.
The second thing worth mentioning is understanding multi-device customer touches, which means that it doesn't matter from which device, it could be a laptop or a cell phone, the customer or visitor is coming from. Once the visitor identifies itself by any mean, by default the common identifier is email address, but it could be anything else. Records of that identified visitor are matched together. So then you can see all the activities that were done on both devices, purchases, page visits, form submissions, anything like that.
Now, in order to use this functionality, developers need to make sure that the activities the contact is doing on the website are properly logged in the system. It's done by out-of-the-box methods that come with Kentico Xperience. For example, to track activities, you need to register the activity tracking, usually, for example, in the startup. And also, you need to add activity logging scripts into the views of the pages. And also, sometimes marketers ask about custom activities, if they are available, if there's something that, for example, they're using in other system can be also used in Kentico Xperience. And the answer is yes, there are custom activities available. And this is something that marketers can definitely use in Kentico Xperience to segment their audience any further.
Another thing that may not be so obvious is the benefit of having contact activities in the system. Why it is beneficial? Because then you can start tracking the customer journey. You know what your visitors are doing on your website, what's their path, and it's very easy to use these activities for segmenting your contacts, for sending personalized emails, for basically all online marketing activities.
As we have seen in the previous screenshot, the default timeline activity view is linear, but Kentico Xperience is quite extensible, and what you can do is you can take out the data from Kentico Xperience and bring it into some third-party tool that allow to visualize the data journey quite better. For example, the Power BI tool. And also, it works the other way around. If you have some activities that you have tracked in some other systems, you can sync them into Kentico Xperience when you are bringing in the contacts. And you will be able to use these activities also for segmentation and other tactics that marketers want to use.
And the same thing is for marketing consents in the system. Although you can optionally have consents like system outside of Kentico, having all this information in a Kentico helps for several reasons. First, you have this data available, and you know who consented to which thing, meaning for instance, consented to receive newsletters, or consented to some form that submits personal information that can optionally consent as well. And you have overview of these consents in Kentico, and again, you may use them to improve your segmentation or marketing processes in general.
In order to make consents work, developers need to make something in the backend. First of all, they need to define a default cookie level. Then they need to prepare at least the means for tracking consent, and marketers need to create at least one tracking consent. To make these two things work, developers need to implement stuff that is out of the box with Kentico Xperience. We have some interfaces that they can implement. And finally, also they need to prepare a way to display the consent text, for example, in a page banner, or the larger consent text on a privacy page. But basically, these are the things that need to happen.
And the last one is understanding the benefits of contact activities in the system. Of course, once you have all the activities that are happening for your visitors or contacts in the system, you can again create the customer journey, use these data for segmenting contacts, email marketing. The options are almost limitless.
From the technical perspective, this data protection application and its features help marketers also with some regulations like GDPR, because GDPR asks people, for example, to be able to transfer the data in machine-readable code to third-party solutions, or maybe to provide some information to a concrete customer who comes to the website and asks what kind of data has the system collected about them. You can have all this information available in data protection application, but to have that available, there's something that needs to be implemented by developers. First of all, you'll need to decide how you would identify your client. Most commonly, it is the email address. Then the developers need to make sure that they implement features like identity collectors and data erasers that marketers will then use to provide the information or erase the data of the customer from the Experience platform. If you are not sure how this works, I'll invite you to look into the data protection application in the Dancing Gold website for inspiration. So to sum it up, we have covered a lot of stuff. So what needs to happen in order to marketers have these things available? First of all, the developers need to prepare consents, the means of tracking and data collection on the live side. Then you might want to discuss with the marketers whether they will need some custom fields for contact profiles. Maybe they'll need some custom activities that they want to sync with their third-party solutions. And if you are not using either custom fields or custom activities, at least discuss whether there are some systems they need to synchronize between Kentico and other solutions. So this is the activity tracking in general.
And we are reaching phase 2 and finally getting to some final features. We are starting with web content personalization.
In a short demo, I'll show you how it works. If it's implemented on the website, marketers can quickly leverage the data and the information they have collected about their visitors. They create contact groups and they can start providing a different content to people who belong to these groups. One person from a contact group will see this kind of information, whether another person from a different group will see information personalized and displayed above, for example, articles or something like that. So this was the personalization example.
And again, for web content personalization, there are few things that marketers struggle with. This feature, in my opinion, is the most accessible one. Meaning that once you have the activity tracking ready and you have some contacts in the system, you can start to personalize your content.
What we sometimes see is that developers and marketers decide first of ways of putting content on the website, which is obvious and quite right thinking. But when developers are preparing the widgets, you may want to also, let's say, consider whether you are going to use the content personalization feature in the future. You'll need to decide how you will recognize your website visitors. In the demo that you have seen previously, we're using the contacts as the means of personalization. And then you may also want to decide, hey, we will want to have some specific piece of content always personalized based on, for example, not a contact segment, but a situation. So what partners need to do? They need to implement the contact tracking, and we have covered this in the first part. The next thing is that they need to make sure that the widgets that editors will use will have the functionality for personalizations available. You can look into the Dancing Gold website, what we used for the demo. And finally, if there is some part of the website that they want to have always personalized, maybe look into some examples in our documentation, because you can create a personalization in code, something that marketers will not work with. It will be always there.
And phase 3 is about email marketing, specifically about marketing newsletters.
And as usual, a short demo. For a marketer, when they come to the Xperience environment and they'll see there is this email marketing application where they come and they create a feed, they submit some details into the feed like contact emails and stuff. They pick a template and they can start building their emails. This overview and seeing the functionality is kind of cool, but unfortunately, for marketers to use this feature, something needs to also be implemented by the developers.
There are again a few things customers should be aware of. The first one is the difference between subscriber and the recipient. Subscriber is someone who actively opts in to receive marketing newsletters. Usually he submits a form with his details and email address and starts to receive newsletters from the company. A recipient is someone who receives marketing emails from marketing campaigns, and it's usually someone who is in a contact group, has been identified as a suitable person for some marketing campaign, and the person can always opt out of either a single marketing campaign or from all marketing campaigns, but it's not someone who actively subscribes to that sort of marketing communication.
Thank you, Ondrej. Now maybe, because this explanation is, let's say, more complicated in Kentico Xperience, I'll show you how we try to explain this feature to our marketers. Other systems that marketers usually use something like the email feeds that you have seen in the previous screenshot. In Kentico Xperience, we have newsletter emails and we have marketing emails, and they differ in, as Ondrej said, what kind of recipients are receiving these emails. The newsletter emails, they are sent to subscribers. When people actively subscribe to the email and, for example, opt in and confirm the subscription, as you've seen in that example in the beginning of this presentation, these newsletter emails within their feed goes to the same list of subscribers, to those people who subscribed or who you have subscribed manually. With marketing emails, you can do more segmentation. You have your contacts, you have your recipients in the system, and you can decide whom are you going to send an email. You're using the contact groups for this first email. And then you can decide, do I want to send the second email to the same group of recipients, or do I want to adjust the group a little bit? For example, you can use marketing automation and you can create a second contact group, and this contact group will contain only recipients who clicked on the link in the marketing email number 1. And in that way, you can start segmenting your audience effectively. This is a thing that doesn't require much implementation, the other implementation that we have already mentioned, but it's important that you need to explain how these two concepts works to marketers who are going to use Xperience. And also you need to implement, in case if you are using, if you want to use newsletters, you need to implement also the newsletter subscription mechanism.
Another thing that may not be so obvious is that end clients need their developers to develop and prepare templates and widgets first in order to use them in email marketing. The reason why it is so is that every company, every brand needs to have different style of emails, different looks, use different logos, different fonts. Thus, we are not preparing any really basic out-of-the-box templates and widgets because they wouldn't be a good fit for the brand styling of our typical customer.
What we have prepared is the features that developers can enable and prepare so marketers can use email marketing. First of all, developers or system administrators need to enable marketing, online marketing and email tracking in the application and also in the live site. Then developers need to prepare email templates and email widgets for email marketing. And while they are at it, maybe they may want to also create some templates for transactional emails, which are a different kind of emails that are sent by Kentico Xperience.
Next thing, it's not clear, but there is no SMTP server provided by Kentico Xperience itself. So you need to have some external third-party SMTP server and connect Kentico Xperience to that server, and after that you may be able to send out your emails.
And maybe I'll repeat it, because this is something that marketers who come from different systems like MailChimp, for example, don't understand or maybe are not aware of. Kentico Xperience is not an email server. If they want to use email marketing feature in Kentico Xperience, they need to bring in their own SMTP server. And also, when you are at it, we also recommend to enable the email queue feature for emailing or for sending mass emails, because this email queue will help you, for example, to ensure that marketing emails aren't lost in case of there are any errors.
And the last point, it's important to realize the opportunities that you have once you have synchronized contacts with some third-party systems. Not only that you can just synchronize one way from CRM to Kentico, but once the contact itself in Kentico is enhanced by some activities, concerns, anything that could be relevant further for your sales team, for other people in the company, with bidirectional synchronization, these data can go back to CRM or other system and can enhance the information level.
And from my perspective, it's sometimes hard to persuade marketers to leave the solution that they are currently using for another solution. And as Ondrej said, importing can help because marketers need to see the benefit of having all their contacts in Kentico Xperience. Maybe start small, have them import the contacts from a third-party tool and have them send a simple newsletter to these people. And then help them segment the contacts from that email. Create two groups. One group will contain contacts who clicked on the link in the email, and the second group will contain a group of contacts who haven't clicked the email. And then you can use, for example, the web content personalization feature we have already spoke about, and display a different kind of content to contacts from group 1 and content to groups 2. And when they see the benefit, when they realize how, let's say, easy it is to prepare a different kind of content that will help customer in their customer journey, they'll ask you themselves to implement either some custom import mechanism or even to bring in the sync mechanism and do this synchronization automatically over API. It was a long chapter, so to sum it up, what needs to happen in order to marketers to use emails? First of all, email templates and widgets need to be developed by developers, front-end developers. There's no need to have a back-end developer for that one. Then developers need to prepare a mechanism which will allow visitors to subscribe to newsletters. On the back-end, developers need to implement a feature that tracks activities of contacts who came from emails. And finally, the benefit, create some kind of a sync mechanism between the third-party tools and Kentico Xperience and bring the email recipients into the system. And finally, and only if marketers realize they need it, you may want to also create a custom macro conditions that they can use to segment their contacts or audience further. And you will need to do this only if you realize that the built-in macro conditions that come with Xperience don't suffice.
And we are reaching the last chapter in our presentation. We are going to summarize what you have learned. The first thing you learned is about the relations of our features, how they are put together and how they are meant to be used. And you learned what needs to be prepared by developers and what is user serviceable, meaning end users, marketers, or administrators can handle that stuff very easily.
So to sum it up, we have covered only a very, I would say, simple and a short scenario, and it's definitely not enough. But if you want to understand of what level of skill you can expect from marketers on the project that you are currently working on, maybe take a look at our Digital Experience Maturity Guide that you can download from the Experience website. It will give you a framework of, let's say, analyzing the current state of the marketers on the team, and maybe identify what kind of features may be implemented in the future to move them down into their digital marketing journey.
If you want to get some professional help from Kentico team, we are providing customer success packages, our subscription services, and we help you to guide you through implementation of our online marketing features. So if you are interested, feel free to contact us and we can provide you more information.
And if professional services provided by Xperience isn't something that works for you at this moment, just don't be shy. Send us an email and we'll figure something out. And this is it. We have reached the end of the presentation. I hope that the few concepts that we have introduced to you were interesting. And if it's something that you were interested in and you liked, please let us know. But first of all, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.